Working overnights at a gas station would be extremely tiring and honestly monumentally stupid and dangerous. Who would want to do that shift? Ooh, I did. Self-burn. Night of the Hunted is a Shudder original that comes to us from the writer-director of P2, After the P-Mageddon, the one that took place in the parking garage, and a lady had to elude a vicious, vicious killer in a parking garage. Certainly an interesting setting, and if you didn't know it was called P2, it was literally right there on the poster. He also did Maniac with Elijah Wood. And he was getting away from playing Frodo like we thought he never would. Maniac. Okay, I'm done. And also, Amityville, The Awakening. One of the many multitudes of Amityville horror-inspired movies. They even took that franchise to space. No, really. That's an actual movie that this guy had nothing to do with. It's also written by Glenn Frey, not Glenn Fry. Had nothing to do with that particular singer, who's done a few pieces. Check out his IMDb page for the full list of his work, and had an original screenplay done by 2 other people. I certainly would like to know what the original screenplay entailed. So this has Alice, played by Cameron Rowe, who is in the deep house. They're diving, and they're going to let it all out. I remember the deep house. It was all right. It was atmospheric. Cameron Rowe was fine. And she is traveling back to see her husband. And she's traveling back with a friend, shall we say. They stop off at a gas station, and, well, things go tits up when there's a sniper somewhere, even though there's only one goddamn location this sociopathic sniper could be, that is shooting at her and shooting at anybody that dares to get near this gas station. Like I said, who would want to ever work the goddamn overnight shift at a gas station? Never had to deal with any snipers, just a lot of drunks and a lot of weirdos. It's not fun to do that, but it's great to have work. And Alice lives some more and wants to continue to live and must solve this mystery before she is a sniper victim's history. Night of the Hunted Tales, woohoo! So, yeah, it's pretty much just a one-location shoot. She has to figure out how to, heal her wounds and figure out who this guy is and, through various means, survive the night and maybe try to get a hold of the police because she doesn't have the ability to do that. So, yeah, it's one of the many movies that takes place in one central location, and sometimes that works. And while there are elements of this movie that do work, there are also parts to it that made me realize that they are just taking a 30 to 40 minute concept and stretching it out to 90 minutes. This could have easily been part of an anthology horror series and probably would have been better off being that. I'm going to be perfectly honest, I didn't really enjoy this. When you have a small cast, you have to have a reason to really care about the main character, and even though Cameron Rowe has proven herself to actually be pretty good and at least serviceable in movies like The Deep House, this didn't click for me. It mainly didn't click for me because a lot of the social commentary and everything felt forced. It just didn't form, and since I didn't have a reason to care about any of the characters, this movie didn't really matter to me. And even when they were trying to introduce new characters, I was like, okay, what else you got? You're just padding this film, this concept that really doesn't work all that well. It is on Shudder if you want to check it out. It's not the worst thing I've seen this year. It's not even close to the worst thing I've seen this year, but it's not something that I particularly enjoyed. I was more annoyed than anything because, yes, stupid decisions are made by multiple characters in horror movies, going back to slashers and all that to advance the plot, but when you don't have much plot to go with, you have to make it interesting, and this movie fails to do that. So, she is able to communicate, by the way, with the sniper on via some means, and we find out more about the story that really isn't all that much anyway, and yeah, it just kind of limps along to a conclusion that we didn't really care about, or at least I didn't care about, because I didn't care about any of the characters. I am going to get into spoilers just so you know. It had a neat little idea, but just the execution was, yeah. Anyway, 3, 2, 1 is on Shudder. Spoilers. Okay, so she was traveling back with a guy that's supposed to be a friend, but actually some guy she's sleeping with. Her and her husband are communicating on the phone. They are going to look into possibly having a kid. And then after she gets to this gas station, she finds the cashier dead. And let's just say things get really, really bad from there. She gets shot in the arm. her friend, lover is eventually shot after discovering there is a leak in the gas line. He's shot in the neck. He dies. There's a guy communicating with her on a walkie-talkie. It turns out he is the sniper. He's the one shooting her. And it's all because, all this flowery right-wing conspiracy theory bullshit that gets spouted. And it's almost dumped out like a goddamn Robert Altman film. And it reminds me of various idiots that I've had to deal with at work. And I mean, maybe that was part of the reason why the movie annoyed me. But no, this just felt almost cartoonish. And then again, right-wing conspiracy theory nuts that think the way this guy does. They are cartoonish and should be laughed at and mocked endlessly. But flowery stuff about pharmaceutical stuff and vaccines, anti-val, all that bullshit and whatever, it just ends up becoming political commentary that beats you over the head and doesn't really work. It doesn't really work at all. Then a guy shows up. It turns out he actually knew the cashier. He talks a little bit about the various, things going on, like how his, wife who got shot had to work this job because the mother got sick, and this country is full of nuts, right-wing nuts, all this. And then he gets shot trying to get his phone, which is conveniently up on one of those stands up by the steering wheel. The phone gets shot, he gets shot. The violence is fine for what it is. She keeps talking to the sniper. This old couple shows up, and there's a little girl there. This is during the time when she's talking to the sniper about various, things. He's talking about his stuff. She's talking about how, going to a fertility doctor because she can't have kids. She also doesn't want to bring kids into the world because of people like him. There's a little girl in the car that is trying to revive her grandma and grandpa, not understanding the situation. She decides she is going to, sacrifice herself so the kid can get away. But the kid runs into the store, and then she says, "Hide, kid. Don't come out until I tell you." She makes some weapons. She, too many pronouns, pal. Sorry, Vince McMahon. Alice makes some weapons and ends up getting in a fight with this guy, eventually killing him by crushing him in a, on one of those, on one of those lifts that they use at car shops, because apparently this all-night gas station also has a goddamn auto body shop and apparently is a goddamn media complex. Has a lot of energy drinks. The old Bang energy drink designs were kind of amusing, making me question when this movie was actually made. But nevertheless, Alice succumbs to her wounds and the kid wanders off, and that's it. That's really it right there. I mean, it's a noble effort at first, but it just drags on and drags on, drags on. I'm sorry it gets an F. I'm not saying that you shouldn't check it out. I'm not saying the director and the writer and various people involved didn't give their best effort. It just didn't click for me. Gets an F. Go support this. Maybe you'll feel differently. Support their other projects. So agree, disagree, what I said. Like, share, subscribe. Twitter handle in the description. I'm John Ritland. I'll see you soon.